All right. Well, we're close enough to 6:30, so I am going to kick things off. I want to say, firstly, thank you to everybody that's joined us virtually. I'm really sorry we couldn't do this in person, obviously due to the COVID-19 crisis that's going on right now. But welcome one and all to the first virtual CanaryWharf.net meetup. My name is Benjamin Howarth. I'm the co-organizer along with Glyn Brough. And we're really honoured to have you all here to listen to Danielle's talk and demonstration, learning ASP.NET Core best practices with RawCMS. We want to say thank you to our sponsors, which are Red Cloud Technology, who normally host the event in person, JetBrains, Endepend, and Redgate. Now, this meetup, unfortunately, Redgate haven't supplied a prize for us to raffle off, but we do have an Endepend license, and which we offer up every 6 months, and of course, our usual JetBrains prize from their All Products pack. And I will be raffling that off at the end of the meetup. As you know, as mentioned, yes, there is some free stuff. So if you hang around until the end of the talk when Danielle has finished, I will kick off. 1 second. I will be raffling off the 2 prizes that we have at the end of this evening's meetup. Now, if you give us just a second, I will hand over remote control to Danielle, and he should be able to share his screen with you. Let's have a look. There we go. Lovely. And Danielle, have you got that now? There should be an option for you to share your screen now.
Okay. Do you see something or
not? Not yet. 1 second. Hang on. My screen sharing is paused. Yep. If I stop my share, let's have a look.
Okay.
Bingo. Yes. Perfect. All yours.
Okay. Let's start. Okay. Hello, everybody. We are here. I'm very happy to be here with you. I will be very pleasant to was in London to see you personally, but for this virus we cannot leave the country, and now we cannot also leave our house without a valid motivation. So I'm here close on my office. I hope somebody will allow me to come back home. Well, starting the presentation right now. Okay. I want to present myself using three pictures, and I want to be very quick on this because a picture is more than 1,000 words. In the life I'm a tracker, and I love open source. Then in the spare time I work as CTO in Sintra Consulting. That's the bigger digital company here in Tuscany, and we have an office in London and Poland. What I do in this job is to take care about software, and I think is very pleasure for me. Who is who nowadays without a social network? I think nobody. And in my opinion, I don't like social network too much, but it is a point that we can reach together, and I'm sharing my link. So you can reach me on LinkedIn, Medium, if you want, Twitter, or see what I'm doing on open source project on GitHub. I think it's everything you need to contact me in the future. I want to go very quickly because we have a very challenging agenda. that I'm able to summarize in three main points. The first part of this presentation is about open source mindset, because what helped me and allowed me to be not a good programmer maybe, but a better programmer is the open source. Open source opened my mind and make me become a good programmer, especially on the first stage of my career. And then I will spend a few words about the gym. So the place where I learn quite everything I know about .NET Core development. That's an open source project called RawCMS, and it's a low-code platform that acts also as headless CMS. And all my experience about this is some best practice that I want to share with you, and it may be very interesting to speak about this best practice with you directly. I will try to present what I learned, and maybe we can follow up in the future. So let's start without any further delay. First stage is from open source to open mind. Why we are speaking nowadays about open source? Because in the past, open source it was not so clear. Because, in example, I started making open source software in 2006. At that time, what open source was, it wasn't so clear. But it was clear what it was supposed to be. And for people, it was an unsuccessful business model because you give your contribution without getting back anything. You, as a company, you didn't get any patent for your intellectual property. So it was a very bad business model for that time. It was maybe for ignorance, because most of people think to open source like Linux, no more. And the consequences of this is that most of people thought that it was just something to do on the Spartan, something for loser, a big waste of time. And then in this context, I had my first experience. My first experience comes after I read GPL license. I understood that I could produce software, experiment new things, and share my experience with others for free, and giving something back to others. So for me, open source is challenging because I can learn new things on it, and I compare myself with others, with other people better than me. And it is rewarding. It is not a waste of time, because it didn't get any money. I didn't get any euro from open source, but I get a lot of knowledge. So knowledge for me is more than money. And moreover, it is ethical, because every day as programmer we take a lot from the community, and there is a time when it is good to give something back to the community. After this experience, I never stopped. And I learned to my last gym. I started this training in 2018 with some guys that are a friend and colleague. We start this project, and it is a very challenging project. It is called RawCMS, but the name is not important. And I want to let you see what this project is, just to let you understand how we can invest our time in open source. Okay, this is a demo. This demo is publicly available on the GitHub pages. I can you find here the links, and you can enter it using the default credential. It is hosted on a free account on Roku, so he needs some time to bring up the backend part. Maybe also some reference. So perfect. just in time. Perfect. Okay, perfect. It is a CMS. It is completely written in ASP.NET Core and Vue.js. It allows us to define new entities. In this example, we create counties and shops, but we can create, an example, something more like customers, and we can explain what fields we want on it, maybe the name, and the type. Of course, we can choose from a list that is that can be expanded by plugin. In this case, we want to use a text for it. We can save it, and each information is stored in JSON files, like this one, that can be cut and pasted to other installation, so it's portable. Everything is portable. We can use the interface to enter data, and the very interesting thing is that we can work on it using the browser. We can also define what the code, some piece of code that will be executed. This example, when I'm going to save a shop, I use this JavaScript to download the longitude and latitude, so to define the position of an address. So in this case, I can just enter an item. Maybe this is the meetup, and it is in Canary Wharf. Okay, I have to not forget any required field. Okay, and if I go inside here, I will find that there is, sorry, maybe I forgot some required fields. Just to let you see. We have any country available, but it's not a problem. Location is the one. And okay, sales was successful, but I didn't see any errors. Okay, please trust me. It is possible to compute it. Maybe I am going to change another one. Okay, this is changed with other latitude and longitude. Maybe we have some issues on creation. Sorry for that. We have the possibility to define custom endpoint over it using also in this case JavaScript code, and we can call it in case this is the same piece of code. I use. I hope you are able to look the JSON here. We have a field location that is Canary Wharf. We can execute this query, and the result is all the JSON that is the result of a free service that gives us position for an address. And we can do theoretically anything using this tool. And then the very good part of this, we added also a GraphQL engine that allows us, like in this case, to using autocomplete to make any query on it. So we can just use it to make query. And think about this: you can give to a front-end team with that tool. He can prepare anything without asking anything to a backend teams. Moreover, this system is able to be extended by plugin and can be I can say it. Can be used as low-code platform because it can help you to support many widely used things like log collecting or K-par collection database or session storage and all of that stuff. So you just have to put design and some presentation logic on the front end, and with this on back end, you are able to archive the work and simply finish the project. So coming back to the presentation, that was my gym, and now I'm going to tell what I learned creating that project. I tried to summarize all the experience in these pillars, because each web application nowadays is a very, very complex machinery, and we need the right code all the code work together and play well. So the slide is quite complicated, so I don't want to try to make it less complicated than what is in reality, because it's just a list of things we are going to see. First part is, I think, is the more interesting part, is the plugin system. Plugin partner is very common in most on-premises product. Think about WordPress, think about Visual Studio Code, think about regular Visual Studio installation, anything you have on your PC, even Office has the possibility to be extended by plugins. And RawCMS needed that because we have a standalone application. We want to put plugins in the marketplace so that every contributor can create a new plugin, and we want to give the possibility to the user to download plugin inside its application and use it. As we know, C# is not so famous for the plugin system, and moreover, there is a very big question that you have to point to me. That's the question is why we need plugin in the microservices era. In the age of microservices, we don't really need plugin because each microservice is atomic, is a unit of deploy, and you can scale by using multiple containers. You don't really need to have one monolithic application that has many plugins, of course. But there are some cases when this is still clever. When we are working on all the code base, and in that case, or we rewrite the application from scratch, or we can use plugins to reduce complexity. When we are playing with background jobs, because background jobs usually need one scheduling engine and many jobs that are running in background. And we will come back later on background jobs. I love background jobs. We will speak again about it in the next slide. And when you have a very tightly coupled business logic, so you cannot employ microservices in the full way, or like in this case, when we are on an on-premises product and you want to make it flexible. Okay, so that's why we created this big architecture, thanks also to the contribution of Native Webmaster that published a great library for do that. Without that, we will be lost, probably. And the functionality of the application is quite easy to explain, a little bit less easy to implement, but that was already done. We have a NOS application, that's RawCMS, or can be your application, of course. We have the dependency injection container and a set of shard library. This shard library are shared with plugins. Each plugin can use the library from the hosted application and expose only the classes that you want to be public. We can have also dependency between plugins. And with that pattern, we create a way to add things inside the RawCMS and make it grow. It was a very interesting experience. Okay, so next step. Next step is about AOP. What is AOP? AOP is aspect-oriented programming. Here I copy and paste the plain Wikipedia definition, but because I don't like definition, I hate definition, I don't want for sure to read it. So just let me explain in my word. In my simple word, AOP means make things happen without writing code. And it's cool. It may be cool. It may be cool. Let's go inside next example. Okay. This is a very simple piece of code. In the left one, in the left part, how we can save a class. Think about a repository. We have very lot of stuff that are needed for start the timer, end the timer, measure the time, log the end, the start, and log the end. So from 12 lines of code, we use only one. So using IOP, we can focus just on this part. In the second example, that's a little bit more complicated. We have, before AOP, repository pattern, we have an interface that is a repository and a repository implementation. As you see, you have to implement, you have to write some part of code, like the part when you declare the class and using a common repository and so on. After IOP, everything is very dry because you just have to describe how the code will work. You just have to describe the behavior of code. And that's funny, that's very funny, but how it is possible? It's magic? No, it's not magic. It is thanks to the proxy dispatcher. Proxy dispatcher is a class that makes the magic itself. And all this magic is done by simply a simple piece of code. I create an example for you. This example is based on 34 lines of codes. In this example, we just use the standard implementation if we have any annotation on the method, or just using the concrete implementation. Okay. Just going a while on Visual Studio to let you see the code. Okay, we have this one. Perfect. It is very simple. I create an attribute that needs to be executed, and the proxy factor that you see that contains the good 34 line of code, and this line of code just look if the method has an attribute. If the method has an attribute, it will be executed. Otherwise, will be used default classes for that. Well, all we need to write here is that one. We just need to add as a singleton the repository, and the proxy factory will give us a proxy instance. This is an out to get things work. Okay. Perfect. Coming back to the presentation, sorry. We can see it in action. It is a background console. It is executing. Perfect. In this example, of course, we have an output, and this output is given by this method. I take the repository implementation. Okay, the repository implementation can implement just a method to init the database, but nothing else. While the interface has the methods for get data and the init database. So in this case, we do something that is not possible to do usually. So we take an interface and a class that implement the interface where there is no direct match between methods, and we let them talk together to create some method in automatic and some method manually implementing it in the other class. Okay, we have already done it. So just 1 minute to speak about IOP. Probably I am a good seller if you think that this stuff is good to use in production, but you never have to trust sellers, because AOP is fantastic, but it's fantastic only when you have a good framework that do things for you, like Spring in Java. Spring in Java. Sorry, it's not coronavirus. It's not. This is Java. It's the word Java that let me code. Sorry. We when we have a framework that do that for us, it is useful. But we don't have anything. We cannot reinvent the wheel from ourselves. In the 99% of cases, a good design using patterns that everybody knows is better, is more useful, and is more productive. So let's go on. Let's go on. Next step is about my favorite. Is about background jobs. How many times you go to a website or open an app, you click a button, and then some progress bar start. That's why in the 2020, the web user cannot wait anymore. It wants result. It wants result immediately. So we cannot let you wait, but we have to manage long tasks. So how we can do that? There is only one way that I know, that is using asynchronous processes. So this means are very, very important things. Each application needs to have a service engine that complete background task while the web API serves API. Okay. Even in this case, you can tell me why you are thinking to put multiple roles inside a single server or inside a single container. And you're right. The design solution is to have one server for one role and one container with one services inside. But in this case, let's think about what we need from jobs. We need to launch it, we need to schedule, we need to control what happens, we need to read logs. So we have to do all this stuff, okay? We could create one container for each background jobs and run it. But then how to schedule it, how to trigger it? You want to trigger it by creating a file, using FTP files, and send it to the services, or you want to trigger something using regular API, maybe JSON API? Because if you want to do that, you will need a web application that hosts a service inside. Okay, we have three options for that. The first option is the microservice option. Of course, we have lot of containers that implement each one the service. Then every service will call the API. An API, of course, has multiple jobs. In this case, we can plan to use a plugin system like the one we described at the beginning of this presentation, or we can use one container for each API. And also in this case, we will have a background jobs and some API that trigger it. So in all cases, we need to let coexist API and background worker. Second hypothesis is using the microservices pattern. So in this case, we will have one container or one web application with microservices and jobs all together about the same business logic application domain. And the last one is the monolith, where of course it's monolithic. So by definition, we will need to. Sorry, Benjamin, do you want something? I see you raising the hand.
Yes, 1 second. Sorry, I just want to apologise to people. I realised that by mistake I was on the wrong Zoom account. So if the meeting accidentally ends in the next 5 minutes, my apologies. I'll send out another link, but it's supposed to upgrade my account to a pro one so that we could go over to the full 2 hours. So if that happens, don't worry. We'll quickly send round another meeting invite.
Okay. Okay. If you could send it also to me, I will update every people that are on the other meetup. Okay, perfect.
Or you can carry on. I'm not sure if Zoom has just picked up whether it can let me
Okay,
record
sorry.
over 2 hours. Yes, no, carry on. Don't worry. I'm just saying if it accidentally ends by mistake, it
I'm
shouldn't
crossing my
do.
feet.
It shouldn't do, but if it does, I'll quickly send round another link.
Perfect. Sorry.
No worries. Carry on.
Perfect. So our choice now we have two options. Until a few years ago on a regular .NET framework, it was only the right part. Now we have also the possibility to run native solution. An example using Crystal as background services or background worker. This is a very simple way. If you have only one job to run, it is a good solution because it's quick, it's native, it's easy to implement. But in real world, we need something more. We need something that is a complete scheduling solution. So for these cases, I suggest to use Fire because Fire is a framework, it's open source and it's free for the most common usage. It gives us for free persistency. It allows us to balance load on multiple servers by design. He gives us a nice dashboard where we see what happened behind the hood, and that allows to launch processes manually, and this is also good. And we can also integrate all this with native authentication of ASP.NET Core. So this is a very, very interesting system. I prepared a demo also for that. I can run it. Okay, while the demo is starting, I just let you see. Oh, good. Sorry. I noted a link here. Okay. While starting, we just need to register the dashboard here and start the Hangfire server. In this case, I used memory storage, but I could use MongoDB or MySQL or SQL Server, anything I want. I could balance it on more server. I can do everything I want with that. I tested it on production and a very challenging scenarios. It works, it works well, and it allows us to run jobs in a declarative way. So like in this case, we enqueue a job and let it start. Just 1 minute to see the dashboard. Okay, he's tell us what it was run a job here. I can see the history. I can see how many jobs we are, how many servers in the balanced way we have. We can look to the jobs. We have, once you see the job, that one, we can requeue to run it again. So it is a very, very complete solution. It is easy to install and add value to the application. So it's something that you need to use. You cannot stay without. So next step. I think we are going to the most important one, but the most easy to implement. And for this, I chose this excerpt from the Odyssey. In this passage, I don't know if you remember it. In this passage, Odysseus, Ulysses for Latin people, tell to Polyphemus that his name was nobody, and then he fight with the Cyclops, and blind Polyphemus. And when everybody want to revenge and ask who blinded Polyphemus, he replied nobody. So they didn't recognize Ulysses, and then nobody will be killed for that. So this is a sample to let us understand that nowadays, without knowing who is who, we cannot have a web application, because you cannot tell, I don't know who is my user. Maybe it's nobody. This is not more possible. And there are other things that are no more acceptable in 2020. One of that is you cannot insert your password twice. So we have to find a way to insert our password only once. We have only one account for a domain. On each company we serve, we have to create a structure where they have an identity provider and no more. Okay, and we have to avoid the possibility to have a service account that works on behalf of the user. Okay, and the last and the most important things, you cannot reinvent the wheel. These things, guys, is not something that you can try by yourself. You cannot try to do it as, at all. So what are the scenarios? Okay, the first on the left is the most common, is the best one. When you have dedicated identity service provider like ADFS or Keycloak, or maybe Auth0 if you want to stay on the cloud, you have many resource server and multiple apps that talk together, and that's fantastic. But many times we start from a company that doesn't have anything of this, or we start an application from scratch without knowing how it will become in the future, or we are founding a startup. So in this case, a good solution is to start using Identity Server 4, that's the same engine we have on RawCMS, and you can embed a know-how-to server inside the backend. So you can start using OAuth2, and you can start by authenticating everything. Then, if your application will grow, you can move, shifting the identity server role other side, and anything change on your application. So, as you see, it is very easy. The right part is the one standalone that hosts the identity server provider and manage the authentication. The left one manage only the authentication. So just removing a few lines code, you can manage both scenarios. Okay, perfect. Now we are going through a very simple use case, that is the fact that you need to use multiple databases in most applications now. And this may be strange, because we fight to have a source of truth, to have only one only one place where we have data. And why now I'm going to say that we need multiple databases to sell a good product. We need multiple databases, of course, because we need to pick the best from each tool. We need to have, an example, MongoDB for data storage. We need to have Elasticsearch for quick search. We may need to use Redis for key pair values. So in a complete application, we have to keep from any of each tool the best, and just this state. Okay, if you are fighting against tanks, you don't need a Swiss Army. You cannot use a database to solve all problem. You need the army. So you need a set of tools that are the best on this field. So this improve performance and save a lot of time. Last point on this, you can ensure everything is synced by design with an effort on behalf of you. You can use Hibernate, or using the on-saving method on Entity Framework. And of course, if you are not using an ORM, maybe the problem is not the data, is not the performance, the problem is the application itself. So maybe it's better if you rewrite it. Okay. And in code world, it's very simple. This is a piece of code taken from RawCMS that allow you to create an index based on Elasticsearch that is coupled with your data. So you are going to say shops, and you have shops indexed on Elasticsearch. As you see, it is just one line of code in our Yux system, and everything works perfect. So a user can store tons of data and search on it very quickly. Okay. Last best practice, I think probably the last best practice now is about multi-tenancy. Okay. Until now, multi-tenancy is something that is is something that you tell. Of course, I'm selling this application to the customer. Why I should think this since the beginning. So it's easy, because nowadays you spend the same time to plan a multi-tenancy application or embedded application, and thinking to it as a multi-tenancy environment since the beginning allow you to have multiple advantages later. Think about the possibility to isolate data or be GDPR friendly. Put data together is easy. You can have a multi-tenant engine just by filtering data by some column. Think about invoices. You can have a table of all invoices of all your customers. But what if each of your customers save 1,000 invoice document each day, and you have 1,000 customers? Your database may be explode. You may you may need to have multiple server and a lot of complexity. And what if you if there is a bug in your system and you miss the where clause that filter data, and you see all that information to the wrong customer? So this is not more acceptable. So nowadays, if you want to make some application multi-tenancy, the good solution is to use different database for organization or for user, based on your business logic. And that is important to separate data, keep small database, scale, and so on. So I probably already told something about this slide, of course, because we need multi-tenancy if you are in SAS context, but also in other business context. If it comes for free, it may be useful. How to implement it? It is very simple. It is very simple. I don't spend more than 10 minutes to do it using the tool that the market gives us. And any of that implementation is based on dependency injection. That's the big revolution in ASP.NET Core, of course, and my best friend. I will start just showing you a simple case. It is a simple case when I implement multi-tenancy manually. Okay. In the left part, we see a piece of code. I will let you show on Visual Studio, while this is a running example ready for you. It is very simple. Here I just can zoom it. Okay, perfect. What we do here, we add a scoped service, is a Mongo database implementation, and we take from the HTTP context the host name. So based on the request, I will land the user to different database. Okay, perfect. The code is inside this controller is very easy. So I get from dependency injection the database, and based on the request I will connect to one database or other database. I generate fake data, but this is just for demo purposes, and then I use everything as usual without any overhead on it. So This is very interesting. I can let you show it. I hope the port will be the right one because it changed any times. Okay, started. It is the okay, perfect. I should have this already done. In that case, I mapped the site as fake DNS on my localhost, so I ran it, and first time I see it. Just give me a second to refresh the database. It was created a database for the user. The tenant in this case is the host name, and it is created a collection. But if another user with a different URL lands on it, this user uses the localhost of the site, okay? Dependency injection give the right implementation of the service, and it is created a new database called localhost. Perfect. Okay. This is very simple. It works, but has a very big defect. This is done by myself, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Never reinvent the wheel. There is a feature on Autofact that can be used in conjunction with the standard ASP.NET Core dependency injection framework, and work in two stages. First stage is to implement a class. In this class, you just have to declare what is the tenant name. You can use request, you can use host name, you can take some information from the authentication token of the user, you can do anything. You just have to output a string with the name of the tenant. Then when you register any things on the dependency injection container, you add all the service you want, and then you map the exception, like in this case. This is good, and this work even in the ASP.NET Classic, not Classic, the traditional ASP.NET and the ASP.NET Core. So it is something that you can spam in the two words. So this is the very last talks about microservices, because I think this is something that is very a term is very overused, because everybody wants to be microservices, okay? But not application can be microservices. It is a good principle behind microservices. We want to divide a big problem in multiple things, easy to maintain and manage. So I want to speak about that in maybe a unconventional way, starting from the meat. Okay, this photo is about Chimera. Chimera is this piece is an Etrurian artwork that now is conserved in Florence. It was stolen. Sorry, it's not stolen. It's moved, but for us maybe a little bit stolen. And it is a very important artwork of Etrurian age. And this, what has this animal of interesting? This animal is composed by three animals that cannot coexist together. We have the snake that bites the lion, and we have the goat, and the lion wants to eat the goat. So it is an animal that never have peace and cannot exist in the reality. Microservices for me is something like that, because it's very nice to see, it's very interesting, okay, but it's hard to make it coexist with the real need of a business application. So we have to be good on planning, on designing the application to isolate the needs and design a good application to support microservices, because otherwise you will end not with a microservice architecture, but with a monolithic application split in many pieces. So having a monolithic application deployed in slices on multiple servers is not having microservices, okay? So the problem, of course, is that each microservice depends on business logic, and maybe business logic can be shared between adjacent services. This usually is a code smell, but if you land on this, you get the situation when if you want to change a bit, you need to maybe probably deploy multiple servers. Think about you have a business logic that is shared. You change a field name. This field name is in the data access layer used by the business logic, and this business logic is used on multiple microservices. Of course, you change a field and you need to redeploy all the chain. So this is not so flexible as we want. And for this, what is our ally? Our ally, of course, is to have a good analysis, a good technical analysis since the beginning, starting using container always. Okay, this is a standard nowadays. And then if you are not mad, plan to use a very good architecture with Auth0, identity server, job server, and define since the beginning one role for each container. So more you are clever on the beginning, thinking what could be happen later, and more you will be closer to the microservice architecture without any divergence. Perfect. So Aldon is the best practice roadmap is completed. I think it's now quite time for a beer. And what to take on from this presentation? Okay, coronavirus apart. Open source is not for loser, but nowadays a real ally to become a better programmer. But maybe not a good programmer. Not everybody can become a good programmer, but we can try to be better each day. And working in challenging projects like the open source one is the opportunity to do a step forward, a big step forward. And anything in our jobs are already invented. So if you are inventing something, probably you are forget about all the environment is near you. So if you can, don't reinvent the wheel. So that's all for me. I just brought some notes here about the link of the source code, the tool we present, about my ELP test, and of course the slide of this presentation if you want to share with friends and so on. So finally, thank you for listening.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much, Danielle, for joining us. We really, really appreciate all your time this evening going into this presentation. And right, I will now open the floor up to questions. If anybody would like to raise their hand or drop a message into the chat box for Danielle.
Okay.
1 second. Let's just move that out.
Maybe they are scared. No, sorry.
Right, 1 second. So Giuseppe Morelli asks, how do you get people involved to join in with your open source project?
Okay. It's very hard to count people involved in an open source job because they may be many kind of contribution. It could be the people that just drop you a message, the people that review documentation, or the people that implement the GraphQL itself. So we are now 70 contributors, I think 10 active right now, and about 5 or 7 actually writing the code. So the big issues with open source code is that you do it mostly on the spare time, so time is few, and you need a lot of people to do small step forward. So it's very hard.
I was going to say, I think one of the biggest things to take away, especially from Microsoft having open sourced .NET Core, is one of their big requests isn't necessarily for people to add code or features, but it's to add documentation. So good examples, how to use the code in different languages for different audiences. And I think that's really important, is to realize that the contribution to an open source project, especially something so big as a content management system, is not always just about a code. It can be about design, it can be about documentation, and there are many, 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 many different ways that one can contribute. You can also, even if you don't have the time to necessarily write code, maybe even just hanging out on the issue section of an open source project. And if you've used it before and people are asking questions and you know the answer, just answer the issue, because then someone else can mark it as closed, as, you know, not a question that needs more depth or anything like that. And so, yeah, there are a lot of ways to contribute. Like, for example, a lot of what I do, there's a library that I look at called Refit, which is part of the reactive UI extensions. And one of the big things I look at is merge requests from other people. I don't always have the time to review everybody else's functionality, but if someone opens a bug and then someone else has stepped in and gone, oh, I've actually got a fix for that bug, my job as one of the maintainers is to go in and go, okay, does that actually work? Are all the unit tests in place? And can I safely merge this in for other people to use? And yeah, as I say, there are lots and lots and lots of different ways. My suggestion would be start small if you want to get involved in a project, but don't be afraid to ask for people for help that's not just code. So yeah, any other questions from the floor? Let's have a look. Give everyone a minute to sort of have a think about what they want to discuss. But if no one's got any further questions, maybe not. All right, in which case, Danielle, would you mind passing the host back to me? Is that possible?
Sure.
Perfect, excellent. And then we'll raffle off some prizes for everyone.
I'm not sure to know how to do it. I'm trying to do.
Okay, it's fine. If you check participants down the bottom and then you right click on my name, and there should be an option that says make host.
Perfect.
Let's have a look. I am the host. There we go. Perfect. All right, let me get my screen share up again. All right. Oh, no. Right. 1 second, I'll just get my screen share working. Share screen. There. Good. All right, so as I mentioned to people previously, free stuff. We have an Endepend license to raffle off, and we have a JetBrains license. So now, Endepend is a fantastic architecture tool which helps to identify code quality and things like library dependencies. I use it as part of doing architecture work on big projects, and we're lucky enough to get 1 license every 6 months to give away. So this is our 6 monthly time to do that. And I'm going to host the raffle. Now, this is running off the Meetup attendee list. So if there's, if you are on this list and you're in the room, if you kind of raise your hand or type something in the chat box to say that you're here, great. And then we'll exchange email addresses so I can get you your prize. Let's have a look. Our winner is Banasri. Is Banasri on our call? I'm trying to find where the chat window is now. Come on. Wait, 1 sec. Meeting controls, there we are. Is someone called Banasri on the call? No, okie dokes. Our next winner, Matt Kenny. Is there a Matt Kenny with us today? Nope. Okay. Next, Alex Shepherd Godwin. We have Alex Shepherd Godwin with us. Oh, crikey. It would appear that we're losing. Hang on 1 second. Let me try and manage participants. Here we go. Okay, let's try this one again. Virendra Vyas. Is there a Virendra Vyas with us? No. Okay, let's try this one more time. Loris Bognani. No. Okay. Oh. Let's have a look. All right, let's try and select another. Michael Leiper. Michael Leiper? Ah, perfect. Excellent. We finally have a winner. Lovely. Now, would you prefer the Enderpen prize or the JetBrains prize? JetBrains prize. Excellent. In which case, I will send you a message in just a second with our email address, and then we'll get that email over to you. In fact, I'll send it to you now. Wharfnet. Perfect. Excellent. Right. And now we will raffle off our Enderpen prize. Let's have a look. And do we have Iftikhar Ahmad Dar with us? I think I've seen his username somewhere. I have a hunch. Yes, we do. Excellent. Brilliant. All right, that is both of our prizes. And before we wrap up for the evening, obviously, next meetup. Now, this is obviously very subject to change with COVID-19, but it is Domenico Musto who will be joining us on April the 14th, 2020. Back to normal scheduling, we hope. Subject to COVID-19, of course, we will keep an eye on all the developments that are happening, but it will be event-driven architecture in practice. All the details are already listed on our meetup page, and we will keep you informed as and when we know more about what we can and cannot do in the coming weeks with regards to that event. Other than that, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who has joined us this evening. Really big thank you to Danielle for joining us all the way from Italy remotely, and we really hope things get better over there soon. Thank you everybody for coming, attending virtually, and we hopefully will catch you next month.